Here are 10 signs that we're currently living under a police state. And this is important information to know because if you're not aware of it, it could go undetected. Now, an article that came out back in April of 2016 titled Top 10 Signs We're Living in a Police State was originally posted by The Last American Vagabond. And I thought it was a good list to discuss because a lot of the things that have happened since then are very concerning based on that list. Now, understand they did update that list back in 2020, but we're in 2023 now, and everything we're discussing in this video is from the last month or so, which is concerning in many ways. So, the first sign that you're living in a police state is that whistleblowers are being culled. Well, what modern or recent example do we have of that? Back in July of 2023, this year, Gal Luft, who is missing, was charged with acting as an unregistered agent of China after exposing Biden family corruption. So this person who was a whistleblower is now not only missing, but being charged with crimes. Is that culling whistleblowers? You let me know in the comments below. But that's just one example of us possibly living in a police state right now. The second sign that you're currently living in a police state is that there are cameras everywhere. Well, we know that's the case already. We also carry them around in our pockets. But we now have AI, which is aiding the use of surveillance technology. So AI is actually helping police surveil erratic driving and scanning billions of license plates in order to figure out who you are, what you've done in the past, and what it is that the police should try to investigate when they pull you over. And this is being used right now in New York City, as well as in other places around the country. So keep that in mind. AI is being used with the cameras now, which is much worse than the original assertion. Now, the third sign that you're living in a police state is that your vote no longer matters. And I think a lot of people might feel like that's the case already. There's a lot of conversations going on right now regarding things like election integrity. And in order to just keep this conversation flowing without any issues or possible backlash, we'll just say your vote no longer matters is the third sign of living in a police state. Now, the fourth sign of living in a police state or under a police state or however you want to call it is that the news only tells you what they want you to hear. I think that's pretty obvious that the media gets together and figures out exactly what they're going to broadcast on a daily basis. But it's probably gotten much worse even since this article was originally posted. And if you were to go check the front page of Fox News right now, it's just a bunch of stuff that in all reality probably doesn't really matter. And they mostly talk about Biden. Now, something I never wanted to have to say, but I will say, is that I have to give credit to CNN because at least on their front page right now, or as of the posting of this video, they're covering the fires happening in Hawaii, which is actually relevant news. So I never wanted to give CNN any credit, but here I am. But the other things they're discussing are basically related to Donald Trump. So the news only gives you what you want to hear. No one's talking about things that might be a lot more important and could affect the entire geopolitical spectrum right now, which would be, I don't know, Niger. But hey, who cares about that because no one even knows where it is on a map. So the fifth sign of living in a police state is loss of free speech, which I think we all can agree has been categorically, let's just say, torn apart over the past few years. And of course, just recently, it was exposed, at least in an article here in August of 2023, that the Biden administration actually pressured Facebook to censor posts from actual media companies like the New York Post or the Daily Wire, and anything related to health-related issues that they didn't want you to talk about. So yeah, free speech is definitely under attack. Loss of free speech is definitely there. And the government is actually working in cohorts with the social media giants that are out there in order to suppress free speech even further. Now, Before we keep going, I do need to mention that the biggest supporter of the channel is Midway USA. They always get me ready when it comes to things that I need for preparedness, things that you might see somewhere here in this frame, and Midway USA is just a good friend of the channel. So a big thanks to them, and obviously if you want to support the channel, I've got links down below as well as in the description for my website where there's an entire sponsors and affiliates page where there may be some benefits for you if you were to go there. Now the sixth sign that you're living in martial law, I mean, in a police state, sorry, I didn't mean to misspeak there, is the government monitoring your phone and location. Well, we know they can do that. The NSA can do anything they want when it comes to our phones. But recent news, like I said, everything being discussed in this video is from like a month or less ago. And of course, there are some things we might talk about that are a little bit older to give you some bigger picture idea as to what's happening, but these are all relevant new things that are occurring right this second. So, government monitoring your phone and location? Well, in July of 2023, Texas State Police purchased Israeli phone tracking software to be used at the border. And what this software does is literally gives you the ability to track somebody via their phone, track their location and what they're doing and where they're going. So yes, this technology exists. It's being purchased and used by the government even right now, and it will be used against you if they ever deem it necessary. So understand that, of course, that's already happening. Now, the seventh sign that you are living in a police state is never-ending war. Well, we've seen a lot of those throughout the years, but there's a new one to talk about now since the posting of this article, which is why it was so nice to go back and actually look through all these signs to figure out exactly where we stand right now, and it's not looking very good, people. But here's the thing. This whole Eastern European conflict going on right now is estimated to last at least until 2025, according to Western media. And we also have Putin saying that it could end up being a forever war with the West. Now, he said that earlier this year, but this estimation of 2025 from Western media is just recent information that was put out. Let's also not forget the concept that we have just dumped tons and tons of money over there in that region, and that Biden just specifically requested another $24 billion to send over there in military aid as well as in financial aid. So not only is money being literally burned, being sent over there almost every single day, it seems, but we're going to keep doing it. So I don't think this conflict is going anywhere anytime soon, and that is one sign of living in a police state. So, the eighth sign of living in a police state is temporary loss of rights. And of course, lots of us have experienced temporary loss of rights depending on situation you're in and where you are at the time and how you're being treated or whatever it is. But right now, what's relevant and happening today that you should be very concerned about is the situation surrounding red flag laws. Understand that the Biden administration, and just recently came out, like I said, a month or less, illegally gave funds to states in order to promote red flag laws. And red flag laws, in case you don't know, basically are temporary loss of your rights. They remove your ability to exercise your Second Amendment rights and sometimes even put you in worse situations than just that, without due process. So yeah, red flag laws are a big deal right now. We have the Biden administration illegally funding the promotion of said laws throughout different states. And I would say that definitely counts for number 8. The ninth reason for or sign that you're living in a police state is prison camps. Now, this one's interesting because it's hard to just go ahead and point directly at prison camps. Oh, hey, the government just built like 20 prison camps throughout the US for no apparent reason. Why, of course, would they be doing that? Well, what we can see is that we learned quite a bit during the pandemic, where just about anywhere could be a facility of restrictive measures, right? We saw a lot of that happening in 2020, where you could convert any major building into a place where people would have to go and probably not be able to leave. So, right now, what do we have happening recently? Well, we have giant tent shelters being built in New York City to house migrants, and we have the Schools Not Shelters Act being passed by the House, which of course still has to go through the Senate and to the president's desk, where people are trying to stop these cities from housing migrants in schools, which should just go to remind you that although we don't have actual prison camps per se throughout the country right now that are specifically designed for the citizens, we have the capacity and the practice of implementing them just about anywhere using schools, tents, hotels, gymnasiums, warehouses, anywhere you can think of, we've figured it out now. So thanks 2020. Not saying that we're quite there yet when it comes to number 9, but we certainly have the capacity to do it basically overnight. And the 10th sign that you are currently living in a police state is the signing of statements. And when I say that, what I mean is almost like executive orders, basically bypassing the law through statements like George W. Bush did. But here in the year 2023, we have Biden signing executive orders that are questionable, but might not necessarily put us to the degree of police state, according to this 10th sign. However, they are concerning executive orders that could implicate more issues in the future. And so the first one is Executive Order 14102, where he ordered that Select Reserve and certain members of the individual Ready Reserve are now being selected for active duty once again, which is all in relation to number 7, the whole never-ending war scenario. And then we also had back in March of this year, which, by the way, that executive order just went through, I don't know, last month. But in March of this year, we also had an executive order, 14092, which directly attacked FFL dealers in order to curb American gun ownership. So these might not necessarily rise to the same occasion as some of the things that were happening during the GWAT, but very similar in the sense of just overriding the rule of law by writing executive orders in order to get exactly what it is you want, regardless of what the people and the representatives feel. So, those are the 10 signs of living in a police state. Do you think we're in one right now? Do you think I can talk like that one more time? Are we in a police state right now? Leave it in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts. It does seem, since the publication of this article back in 2016, that we probably are, according to what those 10 signs would be. But 9 and 10 might not quite rise to the occasion yet. So does that mean we're still somewhat safe? Let me know your thoughts. Look, this is just to kind of remind you of where things are as of right now and to get you ready for whatever might come because of some of these scenarios that are clearly unfolding right before our eyes. If you need anything else from me, go to magicprepper.com. And besides that, that's going to be it for Magic Prepper.